Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you guys know, I love working with my downsizers, right-sizers, and I get a lot of questions about moving because it's a big deal. Some of my clients have been in their houses for 20, 30, 40 years, and it's a lot. It's a lot to think about. How do I get from point A to point B and have everything go really smoothly and stress-free? So I brought my expert, Kathy, here.
Hey, everybody.
With Wayforth Moving Solutions, and I'm going to have her just kind of answer all those tough questions that I typically get. So the first one, Kathy, that I get a lot is, so in real estate, when one thinks about right-sizing or downsizing, right-sizing means, you know, all those bedrooms on the second floor, I want a couple on the first floor and a couple on the second floor. But when it comes to moving, you don't use the right-sizing the way I do. How do you use right-sizing?
Thanks for asking. Because we use two phrases. One is right sizing, and that often for us means someone that's moving from a certain square footage to a comparable square footage. But even though the square footage is the same, the floor plan is so much different. Like you mentioned, they might want bedrooms downstairs.
Right.
The amount of windows can vary, and the amount of doorways and the size of the doors. So when you right size, you have to consider your furniture placement. So you can put all this furniture in your current home and then move it to your new home, and it doesn't look quite right anymore.
Oh.
Because of the windows and where they're located and different corners. So we do floor planning service where we can measure all the furniture, put it on a 2D diagram for the client, and show them how it would look in their new space.
Okay, that's nice.
So that's right sizing. Downsizing is very similar, but downsizing is just that. You got a smaller place to work with. And that's more the challenge with people.
That's overwhelming to think about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you get that person to, in a very less stressful way, find those pieces that are keepers and to hang on those things that you've loved forever?
Well, that's where our client guide manager, they're responsible after I've spoken with them. They meet their client guide manager and they become their friend.
Okay.
They're the ones that will help them in making those tough decisions and considering what is most important to you.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that those pieces are in the home. Then also the floor plan is handy because we can show this is the furniture that fit. And I know you wanted these pieces, but they're outside of the apartment because we couldn't find the right spot for them. So then it becomes, do you really want this chair or the other chair?
Okay.
So
when we talk about how do we know if all of the furniture is going to fit into a client's home, you're referring to doing that 2D diagram. Floor plan.
The floor planning.
Okay.
And we call that the roadmap to success because it sets the expectation up that this is what's going. It's going to fit. That way you're not moving the items to the apartment to find they don't fit because now all of a sudden you've got to pay to move them out.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
It's
too.
double work.
Yeah.
And it's stressful to do that. So we like to have that roadmap to success. So also it allows our movers who are bringing items in, instead of turning to the client and say, where do you want this, ma'am? Where do you want this, ma'am? We have it all sketched out for them so they can look at the map on the wall of the apartment and know exactly where to bring it. But, you know, the best laid plans don't always work out. So we're there too to say, you know how we thought this would look great? It's not wowing me. So can we take that chair and move it over there? And we do those last minute arrangements
that's really
too.
nice.
Because we want them to feel like home and everything just right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, you know, when you've lived in a home for a while and you're moving to a community, what is the biggest challenge that you see that a number of clients will run into?
The biggest challenge is they're moving from a large home with many bedrooms down to a smaller apartment size. So really downsizing is very important. And that client guide manager happens to be an expert in downsizing. So they're going to guide them through those difficult decisions because some people get very attached to their items. They have memories. You know, my son gave this to me, my daughter gave, I can't, those have to go with me. So we walk them through and play devil's advocate. I had a woman who wanted to bring far too many chairs. And so the floor plan illustrated, as you can see, that they're not all going to fit. So help them with those decisions as far as which ones are really truly the top 3.
Okay. I can see that being one of the hardest things is how do you make that choice?
It's emotional.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. And sometimes, we make progress. We like to start with a room that has the least amount of emotional items in it.
Okay.
Maybe the kitchen, and then kind of work our way towards other things.
Okay. That makes
So,
sense.
and also, if not everything is fit, it can go to a family member. If they live in the area, we can drop it off. If it has to be shipped across, multiple states, we can take care of that too. Some people like to auction off their items.
Okay.
So we would take it to auction. The auction company, of course, gets to pick the items that they think will sell fastest and for the most money. And we can also take things to donation. We can also take to disposal. But we try to find a home for everything, and it's great when you can give that item to a family member because then you can still visit it.
Yeah, yeah. And what a relief to know that you've got somebody who's trained in this particular area to help me make all those right decisions, as hard as they are.
Yes, and those people have to be sensitive, and compassionate and have empathy because they are tough decisions. I know that when I went through my mom's belongings, my husband would bring down one box at a time because he knew this is going to be hard for her. So we often have multiple sessions.
Okay.
We don't have an all-day long affair because that's exhausting.
Yes.
And we can space them out. But again, starting with the easy room. And once people start, feeling, wow, the house is already feeling lighter.
Yeah.
It's really a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And after working for Wayforth, I personally opened up a cabinet in my kitchen. And I was like, wow, there are way too many glasses in this cupboard. We never use all these. So I kept the ones that were my favorites, and I pulled down all the others. You know how you get those souvenir glasses?
I've got a few.
Yeah, and we're going to keep this. And then after so many years, you go, I don't really use those things. And it's surprising how many things in our cupboards, you haven't used them in a year or more. So those are
Is that the rule of thumb, like a year, or?
Yeah, I would say that's a good rule of thumb.
If you're right sizing more than downsizing, but you want to simplify a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because it is kind of uplifting to I guess simplify and streamline and just have a little more order.
Yes, and then when you minimize the content, all of a sudden it's so much easier to stay organized because you don't have as much and everything has its place. And I think for myself, when I finished with that double cabinet, I was like, oh, look at that. And there's space. And everything's not jammed together and all cluttered.
That's a great feeling.
It is.
In and of itself.
They also say in your closet, if you take your hangers and you flip them backwards, and so throughout the course of a year,
oh, that's a good idea.
if you wear it and wash it, you put it back the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the year, any of those backward hangers means you have not worn that article in a year. And then maybe we should think about, do we really want to keep it? Maybe it doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe the matching piece that it looked great with wore out.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't worn it because of that. So
okay.
there's lots of
That's a good tip. I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, you've covered it a little bit. So we have a lot of extra belongings.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? You mentioned auction, you mentioned family. So typically, you've put a plan together for me, and I've got some things that aren't fitting in my new plan. What can I do with those things?
Another option we have is that Wayforth has storage available.
Okay.
So if you have a lot of items and you think you might want access to them because you found out where you want them, or you got rid of something in the house and say, I did decide that chair was really looking a little tattered and it just didn't look right. I want the other piece of furniture instead. We put things in vaults or what we call D-bins, which is just a different size container, and we barcode everything that goes into it and then barcode the bin itself.
Wow.
So we have a computerized system, so
That's
if you
nice.
call up and say, I want that coffee table, and we just look it up and we know exactly where to find it, we pull it out, you could either pick it up or we can deliver it.
Nice.
So storage is another option as well.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Way better than going to the storage unit and finding that it's in the corner with a million things on top of it.
Not only that, I bet you're going to find it's less expensive too.
Really?
On a monthly basis.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's wrap things up. What is a quick tip that you could share? You did the one with the hangers.
Yeah.
What's another quick tip? We're just going to leave with a quick tip for everybody.
I would say going through and finding your duplicates.
Okay.
We often have duplicates of things. I know I do. Do you really need 3 vegetable peelers? Some people even have 5. Do we really need all 5? The other thing is if you're going to a community, if you're not going to be cooking as often, and some communities will offer 3 meals a day, some 2, even some do 1, which most cases people go to dinner. Do you really need all those pots and pans?
Okay.
Do you need all that silverware? Do you need all those glasses? Because if it has a dishwasher, and it's just you by yourself, how many glasses feasibly are you going to use in the course of a week that you can't run the dishwasher? So, and with smaller spaces come smaller kitchens. And the number of cutting boards we have. You know, do we really need to take all 7?
Okay.
Especially if we're not cooking all the time, which is going to be my favorite part.
I get it. Yeah. Well, that was really helpful. And so I'm hoping that this information was helpful for you too. I know moving is such a stressful thing in one's life, and it takes a lot of time and energy to plan and to do. And hopefully if you pick a mover like Wayforth, you're going to find that they have the expertise to make everything as smooth as possible. So thanks again for coming to our YouTube channel today. And don't forget to click on the button below and check out the next video that's coming soon. Take care.
Bye now.